Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to discuss the latest potential story of Tory corruption as a fairly sizable group of MPs is investigated for maybe using public money corruptly in order to get what might be described as kickbacks for themselves. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So, even more so than towards the end of their last period in government in the 90s, the Tories really are drowning in a deluge of their own sleaze and corruption. It's like they spend a certain amount of time in power and then they just take their brains out and start behaving with reckless abandon. Either because they get too complacent after winning so many elections and they can't really work out how they've done it, or just that final trolley dash on national assets before they're booted out. This latest investigation is into a load of Tory MPs from the north of England, part of what's called the Northern Research Group, in grim parody to the named after the European Research Group. It says, well, got to abuse a load of public money and caused untold damage to our country. Let's do the same. So the expenses watchdog is now investigating them due to highly suspicious behaviour. And it is incredibly suspicious behaviour. So it seems that a private firm, IX Wireless, had given significant donations to members of this Northern Research Group shortly after the MPs in question had authorised public money to be spent on their Northern Research Group, and their Northern Research Group paid IX Wireless. And I suppose if something like this happens with one or two MPs, you go, it might fly under the radar. But I think when you see the same behaviour for over 20 MPs, looks a little bit suspicious. In fact, according to a report on this in Sky News, one member of the group actually told a correspondent that the reason that they were authorising this transfer of public money was to get the donation. As far as they're concerned, they obviously think there's nothing of it. It's like, well, we do this all the time. Person X gives us a donation of maybe like £20,000. We give them a £4 million NHS contract. It's normal, isn't it? No. Well, it is now. They also quote the leader of the group, Jake Berry, denying a link between these payments. Interestingly, he also uses the same attack line that some of them have when it comes to scrutinising the controversial Teesside Freeport. He said it's wrong to be trashed in the media for having businesses support Northern MPs who are transforming the business community. Are they really? So how come we're not seeing any of the improvements then? How come we're not seeing any levelling up in the North East? But this immediately brought to mind the matter of Conservative treasurers suddenly finding themselves in the House of Lords. Ever since the Tories last came to power in 2010, there's been a steady stream of wealthy donors becoming the party treasurer for usually like a year or a year and a half, donating in excess of £3 million at a time. Then they stop being the treasurer after what seems like a fairly short period of time. And then all of a sudden they're in the House of Lords. And this has happened over a dozen times. And I think there's only been one case of such a treasurer not then going to the House of Lords. There's like a dozen that have or something. And patterns like this, they tend to lack subtlety. You see it once or twice and you think, well, that looks a bit suspicious. And then you see it happen over and over again. You think, well, there's something in this. At the end of the day, if you see a pattern of over 20 Tory MPs authorising public money be spent in a way that ends up funding a private company, and then the private company end up paying you a donation, the exact same MPs, it's a bit bloody obvious, isn't it? It's also, yet again, another example of something which really should be news. Big news. Regardless of how the investigation turns out, the situation is clearly something that looks very much like it could potentially be a conflict of interest where public money is involved. Like, how can you not see public money going from A to B, then money going from B to C, and more money going from C to A, all in quick succession and repeated over 20 times, and not think there's a bit of a conflict of interest here? And how can a potential conflict of interest for so many MPs at once not be of the most intense public interest? Now, Angela Rayner's just been setting out this week Labour's plans to clean up politics, particularly with lobbying rules. I'm aiming to talk more about that at some point. Hopefully, it might come up in the stream tomorrow, although I want to talk about the public sector pay awards, really. But although the plans would clean up a lot of the sleaze going on now, I'm not sure it would really stop this. I don't think there's anything wrong with MPs forming into research groups, or whatever they want to call themselves, even if some of them are clearly not set up to research anything at all. But there surely needs to be a system which blocks donations from any group, directly or indirectly, which has benefited from public money as a result of the MPs they want to donate to. I mean, that can't be right. Circles of money like this are always suspicious. And if we're ever to get people to have faith in the political system, we need to not only deal with corruption, we have to deal with the suspicion of corruption. And this is incredibly suspicious. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.